We bought, at that time, we bought into some franchises, because we figured out that if we opened up like 9 stores, that it would like replace his income and stuff like that. So we're like, oh, well, I'll do that while I'll get some of these open. And once we get to 4 or 5, then he'll quit and join and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, over a year of like me, and I'm very persistent, throwing myself into these franchises, like it just would not go. It would not go. Like, and what was happening is we live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The franchise had basically oversold Dallas-Fort Worth. So they wouldn't give us stores. Like I had paperwork saying that they owed me stores, and I was going all over saying would be a good place. This would be a good place. This would be a good place. And they couldn't physically give me a store because they'd oversold, but they didn't tell me that, or, they couldn't admit that, or else they'd have a big giant lawsuit on their hand. But, so a year in fact, the crazy thing is I got, copied by accident. I feel like there's no accidents on an email that I wasn't supposed to see, that basically was another gentleman with the same story plus 5 years that lived in another part of Texas. His phone number was on the bottom. And like, I called him up and I was like, I know you don't know me, but I live in Dallas and your story sounds very similar. And he goes, I've been doing this for 6 years and I still don't have the stores they promised me. He said, so if you can get out, run. And so we sold our stores basically that week. Cause I was like, this is not, all this effort going to zero. And I'm just like, but this was your ticket out. This was it. And he sat down and he looked at the finances and he said, Holly, have you really been paying attention to what your blog has been doing while you've been doing all this stuff for the franchises? And I'm like, well, I know it's doing better, and, I know we have more sponsors and all this kind of stuff. He goes, what if you had spent all that time on your blog instead of on this franchise situation? And sure enough, that next year, it was just a huge blessing that the franchises didn't come through, because the next year I made more than he did. And, and so it was a much easier transition to bring him into our company instead of trying to juggle stores across the Metroplex. What we can't control because they won't give them to us.